Shalom. My name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the Vineyard. Every day, Yahweh is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to His righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of His law. Join us as we seek to be refined by His Word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in His way, truth, and life. Shabbat Shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard. My name is Adam and I welcome you. This is week 18 of our Torah portion reading and study, which is going to cover Exodus 21:1 through 24:18, covering a huge portion of the judgments, or maybe better known as right rulings, which is the foundation of righting or correcting our wrongs, if that makes sense. So like, as in, if you do this, this is how you rectify it, according to a judicial or court system within the Most High's Torah. So with that being said, super important, obviously. So with that being said, I pray that this would be a blessing in some way as we read the Word together and study it out to show ourselves approved. So what we're going to do is we're going to pray real quickly, ask the Most High to bless this study. We're going to blow some shofars together, and then we're going to get right into the Word. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, Yahuwah Most High, we come before you, and we bless you and praise you. Thank you for your Son, Yahusha HaMashiach. Thank you for the Shabbat that you've created for us. Father, thank you for calling us out and drawing us unto your Son. Thank you for revealing the truth of your word, which is that we are to follow Messiah with all of our heart, soul, and mind, according to your righteous commands. Father, we ask that you'd help us and bless us with your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, to guide us in this study. Father, and to help us to apply what we're learning here today into our lives, Father, because we know that that's what's most important for you. Not how much time we study, but how much we're able to apply your word to our lives, Father. So help us to bear the right fruit. In Yahushua's mighty name, amen, hallelujah. So let's get the shofars ready, you all, and let's blow them together. Praise Yah. All right, so let's get into, actually, before we read the Exodus 21, let's just take a quick look at Psalm 119, 72 through 73, which says, the law, or the Torah of your mouth, is better unto me than thousands of gold and silver. We should have that kind of mentality. His law, his Torah, should be better to us and more profitable to us than all the things we may have in this life: houses, cars, jewelry, clothing, anything of value. The Torah is of more value. And we should understand that and believe that if we recognize that this life is just a vapor, and the eternal life is, I don't even know how many times bigger, longer, grander, more important. Your hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn your commandments. And that was kind of part of our prayer earlier, is we can read this. We can read it till we memorize the whole thing. But if he doesn't give us understanding and cultivation in our heart, we'd never be able to walk this out. And we obviously give him thanks for sending his Son, Messiah Yahushua, who died. And because he went away, the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, was able to come and to guide us into all truth. So with that being said, we're going to listen to the word audio for chapter 21. Then we'll go back and pick out a few things we need to talk about. So let's go. Shemot, Exodus, chapter 21.
Now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you obtain an Ivri servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his woman shall go out with him. If his master have given him a woman, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my woman, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man surrenders his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To surrender her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he has dealt deceitfully with her. If he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another woman, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smites a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but Elohim deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint you a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. And he that smites his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. And he that steals a man and sells him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And he that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone, or with his fist, and he die not, but keeps his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be innocent. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant, or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. If men strive and hurt a woman with a child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall surely be punished, according as the woman's man will lay upon him. He shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. If he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be innocent. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in the time past, and it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept him in, but that he has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give up money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if the ox of one man hurts the ox of another, that he die, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it, and the dead ox also they shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox has used to push in time past, and his owner has not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own.
Okay, praise Yah. So let's go back. Let's back up a second here. I actually meant to share this before we got into the Torah portion, but it's okay. We can talk about it now. First of all, let's go to, this is the word we're going to consistently see with the Sefer translation. I know the KJV and many translations say judgments, but really I think the right translation, the perfect translation would be more like right ruling, especially because in our English language, judgments, we think of like it's always being bad, like this is a judgment against you, and or whatever. But really, right ruling, and again, these judgments or right rulings are really for the judge or the mediator who's mediating a situation. If there's a situation that comes up, how to mediate it, or if just something goes wrong, you don't even need to go to court, right, or go to law or go to mediation and say, hey, I dug a pit, and or your ox died because of mine. Hey, this is what the right ruling says. We'll split my live ox, and half is yours, half is mine. Sound okay? They're like, yeah, because that's what I said is okay. So let's do it. So this is how to make things right, basically. And so the word here for judgments is mishpatim. Mishpatim is plural for mishpat. Mishpat can mean judgment, manner, right, cause, ordinance, lawful, order. So let's see, judgment or justice, ordinance. Here, this is probably one of my favorite understandings here. The act of deciding a case, place, court, seat of judgment, process, procedure, litigation, a case, execution, time. There's obviously quite a bit more, but hopefully you're understanding like the basis of what's going on here. And then I want to share a couple of scriptures about these right rulings. And a lot of us know, or hopefully most of us know, that David was a man after Yah's own heart. And with that being said, let's see what David had to say about these right rulings, these judgments. And so Psalm 118:7, I will praise you with uprightness of heart when I shall have learned your righteous judgments, right rulings. Verse 13, with my lips I have declared all the judgments of your mouth. Verse 20, my soul breaks for the longing that it has unto your judgments at all times. So this is, I don't know how you felt listening or in previous times listening to the Mishpatim, which is basically Exodus 21, 22, and 23. And they're scattered across the scriptures, but 21 through 23 of Exodus is the biggest condensation or biggest collection of these right rulings. So that's why this whole Torah portion is about the right rulings. But some of them may seem really different because of our way of life is different than it was thousands of years ago. We don't really deal with slaves and time periods like that. But one thing to recognize is back then it was much more common for someone to be what we would call an indentured servitude. It would be more like a contract employee that, for the most part, stayed on their property and it was part of their way of life, and it was a really good thing back then. And people wanted to pursue that. People that weren't born into money or families with a lot of money would go and join themselves basically to a family that was able to afford hiring them and bringing them on, and they would live a much better life in that way. And make a life for themselves. And so anyways, so Psalm 119:20 says, my soul breaks for the longing that it has unto your judgments at all times. Verse 30, I have chosen the way of truth. Your judgments have I laid before me. Verse 39, turn away my reproach, which I fear, for your judgments are good. So even if they sound weird to us, or even if they sound like totally out of date, we can't be like, oh, that's weird. I'm not listening to that. Hey, this is coming from the Most High Yahweh Sebaot. Verse 43, it says, and take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in your judgments. Verse 52, I remembered your judgments of old, O Yahweh, and have comforted myself. Verse 62, at midnight I will rise to give thanks unto you because of your righteous judgments. Hey, when's the last time you did that? When's the last time I did that? Whew. Verse 75, I know, O Yahweh, that your judgments are right, and that you in faithfulness have afflicted me. Verse 84, how many are the days of your servant? When will you execute judgment on them that persecute me? 102, I have not departed from your judgments, for you have taught me. 106, I have sworn, and I will perform it, that I will keep your righteous judgments. 108, accept, I beseech you, the freewill offerings of my mouth, O Yahweh, and teach me your judgments. There's a bunch more. I'm gonna actually move on here. When's the last time you did this? When's the last time I did this? 7 times a day do I praise you because of your righteous judgments. Man, we should try to work for one. Maybe in that morning prayer, thank you for your right rulings, which governs this whole earth. Or it should, not in the world we live in. The world we live in is governed by Hasatan and the beast and its system. Now this is kind of interesting, kind of just putting a shift on things. Now we think right ruling is, of course, the most of what we're going to talk about today is right ruling. Hey, if this happens, this is what needs to happen to fix it. However, what we're going to see that in the end days, Yahweh is going to perform right ruling over and for us. Isaiah 3:14, Yahweh will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people and the princes thereof. Which when Peter says judgment must first happen at the house of Elohim, that's, if you're doing what's right, that's not a bad thing. So if you're walking in his light, in his truth, his Torah, his way, right ruling, if he performs right ruling over you or judgments over you, that could be a good thing if you're walking in the way, and a very terrible thing if you're not. So Yahweh will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people and the princes thereof, for you have eaten up the vineyard, the spoil of the poor is in your houses. Isaiah 42, verse 1. This is prefacing, talking about Messiah and what his mission was going to be. Behold, my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment or right ruling to the nations. Isaiah 53:8. He was taken from prison and from right ruling, right? So he wasn't given the opportunity of right ruling. It was taken from him. And who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. Ezekiel 20:15-16. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, because they despised my right rulings, my judgments, and walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Shabbats, for their heart went after their idols. Malachi 4:4. Remember ye the Torah of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Literally, like one of the last things spoken in the book of Malachi until, of course, what we see with the Messiah. Isaiah 24:1-6. Behold, Yahweh makes the earth empty, makes it waste, and turns it upside down, scatters abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh has spoken this word. The earth mourns and fades away. The world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Why? Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore has the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left in it. Let's go to Revelation 15:1-4. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Elohim. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass. I want to be there with you, having the harps of Elohim, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are your works, O Yahuwah. Just and true are your ways, you King of saints. Who shall not fear you, O Yahweh, and glorify your name? For you only are holy. For all the nations shall come and worship before you. For your judgments, your right rulings are made manifest. So the world might be like, what? But they're going to see. One day they're going to see of how awesome and righteous Yahweh's law is. Maybe once we start getting our act together and start being a good example for his laws and not a bad example. Real quick before we dive, Deuteronomy 1:16-17. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is Elohim's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. So these Mishpatim, again, are the basics for what should happen. Now, as we know, if we can reason together, if Yah made a book that covered every single instance of any problem that can go wrong, he would write a book that would probably be bigger than the 66 book canon already. And so what he's done is he's given you basic precepts. And even though it says, if this happens to this ox and that happens to the ox, this is what happens, you can take that same principle and apply it to other belongings. It doesn't have to be, you can read through this and be like, well, I don't have any ox and I don't have any sheep and whatever, so this is never going to apply to me. That's actually not true. We should be able to take the same basic principle of this property, this is what happens, this is how it's mediated. So going to Exodus 21, 1 through 3, again, first off, you're like, the first right ruling, people are like, well, okay, I'm checking out because it's talking about a servant. I don't have any servants. So if you obtain an Ivri servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. And so this is very similar to the creation account. Of course, Yah working for 6 days and resting on the 7th. Very similar to what we see, that applied to a 7-year process. In case some of you didn't know, you would work the land for 6 years, and on the 7th year it would rest. And then, of course, even more so with the Jubilee years, you have 7 years of 7, and then the 50th year is a rest. But point being is, well, even servants need rest. People need rest. The land needs rest. Rest is part of Yah's creation. And let's read just a little bit here. We'll read Leviticus 25, 1 through 13, and I kind of want to share the principle behind the principle here. Leviticus 25, 1 through 13 says, And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto Yahweh. 6 years shall you sow your field, and 6 years shall you prune your vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for Yahweh. You shall neither sow your field, nor prune your vineyard. That which grows of its own accord of your harvest you shall not reap, neither gather the grapes of your vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land, and the Sabbath of the land shall be food for you. So this is part of faith and trusting in Yah, because it doesn't make any sense, because what we learn is you plant crops, they grow, you eat them. And what he's saying is, you do not gather any of the fruits that you would normally gather and eat. Don't do that. And he's saying it shall be meat for you and for your servant, and for your maid, and for your hired servant, and for your stranger that sojourns with you. And we'll stop there. What is the point behind this? What's he trying to say here? In my opinion, is that rest is absolutely needed. I want to read something for you, and I want to share how recent science within the last 100 years has confirmed what is going on here scripturally. Now, again, I know this is particularly about a servant, but I wanted to kind of make the point with the work the land for 6 years and rest the rest the 7th. I want to read this comment that I came across not too long ago. It says, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s came about because the land was continuously farmed, and the nutrients of the land were depleted to a point that it could no longer support vegetation. All things need to have their nutrients renewed periodically. This is true of the land as well as mankind. Since the Dust Bowl farmers routinely allow a portion of their land to go fallow, usually in a field on a rotational basis, many even grow crops that leave a residue to be worked back into the ground, such as soybeans and corn. Yuck. Elohim in his infinite wisdom knew that anything material would, through the process of aging, deteriorate, and that occasional renewing by the input of new nutrients would be necessary. The renewing of nutrients slows the process of deterioration, whether it is man or plants or animals or even the land, and that is the reason for Elohim declaring the Sabbath year. That is also the reason why fertilization is such a necessary component of growing plants, whether in your flower garden or in a large farm. That is, incidentally, the reason for his declaring a Sabbath day for man. Elohim knew that unless man's awareness of him and his laws was renewed on a frequent basis, weekly, it would eventually fade from his memory as we see the world today. When Elohim put man into the Garden of Eden, he charged him with caring for it. Genesis 2:15, and Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. This alone tells me that the nature of the land needs our attention, But even further, when Elohim ejected man from the Garden of Eden, he told Adam that his punishment would be, Genesis 3:17-19, and unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and has eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and ye shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and unto dust shall you return. Also, Genesis 3:23, therefore Yahweh Elohim sent him forth from the garden to till the ground from whence he was taken. Since man is essentially dust and needs to replenish himself through eating, why would the land be any different, which is also dust? I came across that and I thought that was absolutely spirit-filled. And so that's kind of the tone here is, hey, they're going to work hard for 6 years, and then the seventh year they're going to get a full rest. Can you imagine how ready someone would be that next year after a full year of rest? Same thing with the land. And I just wanted to mention, if anyone wants to take a look at a thing called indentured servitude, you might be fascinated to find out that this country was actually founded. Most of the workforce was indentured servitude, which was a 7-year contract to which they would work for 6 years, and the seventh they would have off, and that they would actually earn a piece of land. That was the deal that most people that came from Europe, that came over to here to America, that was the deal they signed up for, and it's actually very biblically centered. So. Kind of interesting here. So, and also consider that some of these servants, a lot of them were willing, and some of them actually were obtained by theft. We'll actually read it next chapter, Exodus 22:2-3, talking about a thief, right? And talking about how he should make restitution, but if he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft, which brings us right here. If you obtain a servant through these means, right? Or whether it's willing, voluntary, those kind of things. So let's move on. 21 verses 5-6, talking about here about the servant who's like, hey, you know what? I love my master, my wife, my children. I'm not going to go out for free. Then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall bring him to the door, and they basically pierce his ear through with an awl. If you've never seen an awl, it would look something like these. How come all these, right, something like this, right? It'll punch it through. And honestly, this is, I believe, is a picture of eternal loyalty to Yahweh. Some of you might be like, well, this is kind of weird, right? I mean, isn't this who we are? Aren't we the servant that's like, hey, I love my master. I don't want to go out for free. I would say that I'm a servant of the Most High. I don't want to go out somewhere else. I don't want to go, and we all have the option to go out for free, right? Because we all have, we have the freedom of choice. He's given us the freedom of choice. He's given us the option to serve him or not. And I don't know about you, but I'm the servant that I would plainly say, I love my master, my wife, my children. I will not go out for free. I say that right now. I want to be his servant forever. So kind of interesting little foreshadow there of his people. Let's go to verse 12. It says, he that smites a man so that he dies shall be surely put to death. Obviously, death penalty is not unbiblical. Let's go to verse 13. And if a man lie not in wait, but Elohim deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint you a place where he shall flee. So this is making a separation between verse 12 is talking about a premeditated murder. Verse 13 is talking about accidental death, aka manslaughter. And so there's obviously a contrast here with different outcomes, different judgments. And we have to recognize, and I think we all know this, but just let me state the obvious, that motive matters. Motive matters to Yah. And so if motive matters if motive is important in these type of matters, in a matter of murder, couldn't we apply motive to many other facets of life? And this is what I'm talking about, how motive should be relevant not just in murder, but in a lot of different things. And so these are just little ways of how we can apply this mindset. And if something comes, if any of you are ever put in a place of mediating between brothers or sisters, whatever, this this is what we have. This is what we have to look at. And remember that motive is extremely important to the Most High. It makes a big change in the outcome of things. Verse 17, and he that curses his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. Oof. So I want to take a look at Leviticus 19. We're several weeks away from getting here, of course, but I want to just a little sneak peek into that Torah portion. Leviticus 19 is kind of like Mishpatim. Leviticus 19 has a huge concentration of what it means to be holy. So chapter 19 says of Leviticus, and Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am holy. And then the first thing he says, literally, after about, hey, be holy, now he's getting ready to tell us what that looks like. The very first thing, ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am Yahweh your Elohim. This is 2 of the 10 commandments, and this is like one of the first 2 things he says about being holy, your parents and Shabbat, commandment 4 and 5. And then a little bit later, in verse 32, it says, you shall rise up before the hoary head, that means the gray head, the aged, and honor the face of the old man, and fear your Elohim, I am Yahweh. So I kind of tie these in together, especially some of you older generations out there where your parents are still alive and maybe old. Honor them. Take care of them. Let's be holy, yeah? Praise Yah. All right. Verse 19. So it's talking about here, if men strive together, they fight, whatever. If he rise again, right, and walks around on a staff, then he that smote him shall be innocent, only he shall pay for the loss of time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. So this is AKA a lawsuit. And so if somebody does you wrong that causes you to lose money. So let's say someone pushes you down the stairs. How horrible. Why would they do that? And you fall and you break some arm and you miss 2 weeks of work. It's scriptural for them to be like, hey, you know what? Hey, I accidentally, let's say they accidentally push them down or whatever. It's totally biblical to be like, hey, you know what? I caused you to lose $1,200 in income. I'm going to take care of that for you. That's right ruling, right? And, but anyway, the point being is, this is lawsuit. So in the world we live in, lawsuits have just become a dime a dozen, and people sue people for ridiculous stuff. I remember my first taste of it was when I was young. I don't know if some of you maybe older millennials out there may remember this, or Gen Xers, or we got all sorts of age groups. We probably still even have some baby boomers in here. I think it was in the 80s when that woman sued McDonald's because her coffee was hot. And there wasn't so she sued him and won, and so that's why now every cup of coffee has caution, maybe hot. So those kind of lawsuits are ridiculous, in my opinion. Well, I shouldn't judge somebody, obviously, but my point is that if some serious things happen, recompensing your brother for time or money that you caused them harm. So it doesn't have to be a fist fight here, which we see together if men strive together, but anything that you do that could cause somebody financial loss, well, take care of it. Speaking of lawsuits, I really want to go to 1 Corinthians 6, 1 through 11. Paul talks about this, because with that being said, if brothers and sisters have issues with each other, do we have to go to court? Lawsuits discouraged. So when I say, I was broadly saying the term lawsuit. When I mean lawsuit is just making it right financially for somebody if they do something wrong. Paul is discouraging lawsuit as in going to a court of law, which I also agree. So like if your brother does you wrong, we don't have to go to court. We should just be able to look at these right rulings and say, hey, I did this to you. I caused this. Let's make it right. Done. It should be over with. So 1 Corinthians 6, does any one of you, when he has a case against his neighbor, dare to go to law before the unrighteous and not before the saints? Or do you not know that the saints will judge the world? If the world is judged by you, are you not competent to form the smallest law courts? Do you not know that we will judge the angels? Paul's kind of spicy, if you didn't notice. How much more matters than of this life? So if you have law courts dealing with matters of this life, do you appoint them as judges who are of no account in the church? So basically, it's like, do you just go ahead and set the Supreme Court judges and put them in your fellowship and judge a matter? No, obviously. I say this to your shame. Is it so that there is not among you anyone wise who will be able to decide between his brothers and sisters? But brother goes to law with brother, and that before unbelievers? Actually, then it is already a defeat for you that you have lawsuits with one another. Why not rather suffer the wrong? Which this is going to kind of go into the end of this chapter when we talk about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and we see that Messiah kind of taught even a better way. Like, hey, yeah, you can do eye for eye, you can sue your brother, but Paul's like, why not even just suffer the wrong? Okay, your brother suffered you to lose $500. Do you have to go back? Do you have to collect that money? You can. You have the right to. Why not rather be defrauded? On the contrary, you yourselves do wrong and defraud, and this to your brothers and sisters. Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor those who are habitually drunk, nor verbal abusers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Such were some of you, but you were washed, but you were sanctified, but you were justified in the name of the Master Yahushua HaMashiach and in the spirit of our Elohim. Praise Yah. So let's keep going. Verse 20, it says, and if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Now, it doesn't say what that punishment is. In the Targums, it says something a little more, let's see, verse 20. And it says, and when a man has smitten his Canaanite manservant or maidservant with a staff, and he die the same day under his hand, he shall be judged with the judgment of death by the sword. That seems a little more in line, because it's like that, if the person's your servant and you kill them and you just get like a little fine, ooh, that's kind of, I don't know about that. This should be life for life, because all life should be important. And then you compare that, of course, with like the Jewish Talmud law, which is why I'm not for Judaism, why I'm not for the Talmud. It says here that the Gemara challenges, but wherever there is liability for capital punishment, this Tana teaches, as it is taught in the first clause, with regard to bloodshed, if a Gentile murders another Gentile, or a Gentile murders a Jew, he is liable. If a Jew murders a Gentile, he is exempt. Garbage. That's the kind of stuff that Messiah was rebuking, these horrid Jewish added laws that totally pervert the Torah of the Most High. Let's go to verse 21-25 says, or this is talking about the eye for eye, tooth for tooth, burning for burning, wound for wound. Let's go here a little bit. Earlier we read Isaiah 42:1. It says, behold my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment, right, ruling to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench, till he shall bring forth judgment, right ruling unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law, his Torah. This is talking about Messiah. I'm going to go down here to verse 21. It says, Yahweh is well pleased for his righteousness' sake, and he will magnify the law and make it honorable. So I believe that Messiah raised the standard, if you will, which talking about last week, we see that that it's one thing not to murder, but hey, even if you hate your brother in your heart, you've already committed a murder in your heart, in your mind. And so I believe that Messiah came to elevate the law and to make it even more honorable. I want to take a look at, with that being said, the book of the Natsarim, chapter 16, verses 48 and 49. And I think this is a really interesting take on the eye for the eye, tooth for tooth portion right here. It says, the holy books of the Yahudim say that an eye shall be taken for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But the words of the Torah must be interpreted with justice. For if an eye be taken from he who put another's out, or a tooth from someone who has knocked out the tooth of another, is the loss made good in this manner? So it's a good question. So let's say I accidentally knocked out your tooth, and then he's like, okay, so I'm going to get a pair of pliers, and we're going to rip your tooth out. Okay. Is it really good now? Watch this. So this is kind of where Messiah is going with this. Or if a one-eyed man causes him with 2 eyes to lose one, shall he be made blind and suffer a great loss? So like in example 2 is, let's say you already had 1 eye and I did something on accident that caused you to lose your other eye. Should you then now be able to take out both of my eyes because you're blind? Or if a man with 2 eyes causes a man with 1 eye to be made blind, shall he lose both? That's that one. So henceforth, so from this point forward, let the loss be made good in silver or through labor. For now the law of revenge shall be overruled by the law of retribution. So revenge is like eye for an eye. Retribution is like, hey, I caused you to lose an eye. Man, here's, what's an eye worth? I don't even know. All laws shall now be administered under the rule of recompense. All these things I give you, that they may be established and added to the Torah, so that henceforth they may be used in judgments or right rulings among the just. Now, for some of you that's like, he's adding to the Torah, he's not allowed to do that. So remember, and let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at Deuteronomy 4. It says, you shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish anything from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yahweh Elohim, which I command you. Let's not forget the Messiah, what's his identity is that it says the isle shall wait for his law. He is literally the lawgiver. I believe that Messiah was the one that was on Mount Sinai that gave the law. So if he wants to give more clarified understandings of how this is to be walked out, that's his right to do so. Matthew 5:38-40 says, you have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if a man will sue you at the law and take away your coat, let him have your cloak also. Let's move on here to let's go to verse 29. So it's talking about an ox, or verse 28, if an ox go or a man or a woman, they die, then the ox shall be stoned, his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be innocent. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in time past, and it has been testified to his owner, and he has not kept him in, but that he has killed a man or woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner shall also be put to death. So this is AKA negligence. And so this doesn't have to pertain to an ox or a cow. This can pertain to your dog. If your dog has bitten someone before, and let's say you have a hole in your fence, and your dog keeps getting out and bit someone, and you know about it, and let's say you make that right, and you put him in, and you don't fix your fence, and he gets out and kills somebody, your dog, according to the Torah, you should die. That's called negligence, because you knew something, there was a problem, right? And you knew about it, and you didn't fix it, and it caused the other person to die. Much like, oh gosh, I don't even know how any good example off the top of my head, but let's just say I have a vehicle, and I knew that my vehicle had some severe problems, and it was dangerous, and I let someone borrow my vehicle, and the thing that I knew about breaks, and they get into an accident, they die. That's negligence. That's what this is talking about here. And so I think we need to be very circumspect of our lives to not be negligent in any parts of our lives, with ourselves, with our families, our children, of course, especially with our children, with other people. We should be very circumspect of that. Verse 35 is kind of interesting, talking about the ox, how it's split in half. It says right here, they shall sell the live ox, divide the money of it, and the dead ox shall they divide. It's kind of interesting. There's a story about Solomon, where you have two parties that have the two women that had the opposing testimony. You had the two women; they both gave birth within 3 days of each other. One of the women laid on her baby, died in the middle of the night, switched her dead baby with the other baby. They went to court. And it's just it's like, what do you do as a judge? You have two completely different testimonies. There's no other witnesses. And so it's just kind of interesting that Solomon went here. He kind of went to this right ruling right here, talking about taking the live ox, dividing it in between the two. And so he says, all right, we'll take the baby, we'll divide it in two and give one to each. And then, of course, the real mom was like, no, don't kill him. And the one that wasn't was like, yeah, that's fine. Just split him in half. I'll take half. That's cool. So then, of course, everyone was able to determine whose baby it actually was. So, in general, what I wanted to mention about Messiah, about what he was talking about, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, consider that he also knew that after 70 AD, the priesthood, or the Levitical priesthood, was going to get destroyed. The temple, and Hosea 3 says, "For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, without a prince, without a sacrifice, without an image, without an ephod, and without a teraphim. And afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek Yahweh their Elohim and David their king, and shall fear Yahweh and his goodness in the latter days." So I believe that Yahusha was preparing us for the time we're in now. And really, at the end of the day, this is also another reason why assemblies are important. This is why assembly leaders are important, because typically when these things go down, having someone that's accountable for the people there of the assembly should be a person that mediates the situation with total impartiality and hears both sides. Hearing one side only and then making decisions, unrighteous, totally unrighteous. Should be hearing both sides fairly. So let's go into Exodus 22, and then we'll talk about it and move on. Here we go. Exodus 22. Shemot, Exodus, chapter 22.
If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it, or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox, and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief be found breaking up, and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field, and of the best of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution. If fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of grain, or the standing grain, or the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to guard, and to be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges, to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of transgression, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenge to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast to guard, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of Yahuwah be between them both, that he has not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof. And if it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, it came for his hire. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his woman. And if a father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. You shall not suffer a witch to live. Whosoever lies with a beast shall surely be put to death. He that sacrifices unto the Elohim, save unto Yahweh only, he shall be utterly destroyed. You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Mizraim. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your women shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as a usurer, neither shall you lay upon him usury. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by the time that the sun goes down. For that is his covering only, it is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he cries unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the Elohim, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruit, and of your liquors, the firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. Likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with this dam. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. And ye shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall ye eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. Ye shall cast it to the dogs.
Okay, chapter 22, let's talk about, by the way, that last one there, sorry, no roadkill. All right, at least not roadkill that someone else hit. I guess technically if you hit the deer yourself, yeah. All right, so let's go to Exodus 21. Let's go to verse 2. It talks about, if a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall be no blood shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If you have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. This has actually been the center of an interesting little debate of what's exactly going on here. I think it's a little clearer in the NASB. I think I have a link here. Yeah, NASB, it says, if the thief is caught while breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there will be no guilt for bloodshed on his account. That's a little clearer than if a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he dies. So basically, this what I'm seeing here is most thieves come in at nighttime, and so basically what it's saying is if a thief comes in and because the owner is startled and kills the thief, there's no bloodshed for him. It's it. That's you defended your home. It's okay. But if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. As in, well, I tell you what, let's just read the Targum on this one, the Aramaic. I think it's really clears this one up, and at least makes a lot more sense in my mind. It says, if the thing be as clear as the sun that he was not entering to destroy life, and one has killed him, the guilt of shedding of innocent blood is upon him. So, which makes sense to me too, because if someone came in and was just like trying to get some food, do they really deserve to die? You know? Now, I think some of you who are really big on Second Amendment and rights and big gun guys, I hear you. Former Marine Corps machine gunner. I love my weapons too. But question is, you know, should there be a difference if someone's coming in to like take your kids versus come and get a loaf of bread? What do you think? So it says here, if the thing be as clear as a sun that he was not entering to destroy life, and one has killed him, the guilt of the shedding of innocent blood is upon him. And then here it says, if a thief be, well, yeah, we don't say that. So that seems to be the difference there. So I would say, in general, protecting your home is Torah. There's a lot of people that would say, I'd say a lot. I've run into some people over the years that are just so anti weapons. I don't even say guns, weapons, that, you know, they've without saying it, or I've tried to defend my position, and they're in opposition to it. My position is, hey, if someone comes in and is going to do harm to my wife or my children, I'm gonna protect myself. I mean, I believe this right here is justification for it. But some people would say, no, I'd just let them come in and, do whatever they want to my wife, because, if Yah wants to protect me, he'll protect me. And I can understand that faith. I really can. But there is some practical application to this life and this walk. And anyways, I'll probably get into a topic that is off topic here. I believe that self-defense is okay, especially your home, especially at night, if you're trying to do bad stuff. Okay, verse 22:14 says, and if a man borrow anything of his neighbor, and it shall be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. You borrow someone's tiller, you take it to your house, you till, you're like, yeah, this is saving me so much time, and it breaks. Make it good. Fix it or replace it. That's what the Torah is telling us to do. And I think that is an excellent witness. Verse 15, but if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, it came from his hire. So, for example, we're driving in the car. I'm showing you my car, my new car. Maybe it's not that new. Maybe it's a new used car. And let's take it for a spin. And you get in the wheel. I'm like, yeah, you should drive it. I'm gonna show you how cool it is. And you drive it and blows up. You're with him. You recognize that he didn't do anything wrong. The engine just blew, and it wasn't his fault. That person's not liable. If that makes sense. Verses 16 through 17. Now, this is another one I really want to talk about. It says, "And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his woman." What people have interpreted this is if a man rapes a woman who's not engaged and lies with her, he shall make her his wife. And the reason this is when you look at Deuteronomy 22:28, it says, "If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, the man that lays with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days." Now, let's back up for a second. I want to show you that this is not what this is talking about. This is not talking about rape. This is talking about premarital, but it's not talking about rape, and I want to prove that to you. So let's go to this passage here, and let's look at the word entice. So if a man entice, now the entice may not always be the best, may not be the best foundation, because when you look about it, it's it could be deceive, it could be persuade, it could be to flatter, allure. So honestly, it sounds like, put it in a modern day context, it sounds like someone has persuaded, like a man has persuaded a woman, like, hey, let's do the thing, and but it has nothing to do with raping or because rape has its own right ruling. If a man rapes a woman, he dies. That's it. Period. It's like murder. And the reason also I want to show you, it's the entice, to attract artfully. Actually, I want to tempt, lure, seduce, persuade, allure, solicit, bait, lead on. So some of these words are bad, like betray, beguile, and so this enticing could come from a good place or a bad place, but the facts are it's not rape. And here, I'm going to show you why. Also, why people do this. In some of the newer versions, like the not inspired version, says if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he's got to marry her. And the NLT, NLT doesn't say it, but the ESV seizes her and lies with her. Let's take a look. Look at the word lay hold. So if a man, so again, this is Deuteronomy 22:28. If a man finds a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, let's take a look at this word lay hold, tapas, which means to take, handle, hold, surprise, to grasp, to seize, capture. This word it's like, here, let's look at some of the other verses. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all as such as rape the harp. No, it doesn't say that. Handle the harp and organ. And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Hey, lie with me." That's that one. That one would be a little more aggressive. It's right here, verse Deuteronomy 9:17. And I took, so I laid hold on the two tables and cast them out of my hands. And when you shall besiege a city a long time in making war against it to take it. So this is not talking about raping. This is about like, hey, this is a man that's they've done premarital. And so what's interesting about the right rulings is it gives you a way to right this wrong. And it says, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. And so when people have premarital and they don't move on to marriage, that's fornication. That's how I understand. That's how I understand the definition of fornication at this time. Any premarital that doesn't lead to marital is fornication. All right, let's go to Exodus 22:22 through 24. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath shall wax hot. and I shall kill you with the sword, and your women shall be widows, and your children fatherless. So Yah in here is also saying, hey, this is some right ruling that I'll perform if you do some of this. And afflicting widows or fatherless children, basically preying on the weak, ooh, he hates that. On the contrary, second Esdras 2, 20 through 23 says, guard the rights of the widow, secure justice for the fatherless, give to the needy, defend the orphan, clothe the naked, care for the injured and the weak. Do not ridicule a lame man, protect the maimed, and let the blind man have a vision of my splendor. Protect the old and the young within your walls, and when you find any who are dead, commit them to the grave and mark it, and I will give you the first place in my resurrection. James 1:27 says, religion that is pure and undefiled before Elohim and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So Yah is warning us pretty well if what happens, what the kind of right ruling he will do on us if we afflict the widows or the fatherless. Verse 25 of Exodus 20:22 says, if you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as a usurer, neither shall you lay usury upon him. Give to him who asks. Messiah says that very succinctly. I would like to read a passage on Sirach 29 about lending. Basically, it talks about the nature of borrowing and how the borrower is like when they want to borrow, they'll be happy, they'll say everything that you want to hear, and then when it comes time to repayment, they'll give you all the excuses in the world. And then basically goes on to say some people get burnt out and won't lend because of this. However, that is not what is supposed to happen. Sirach 29 says, he that shows mercy will lend to his neighbor, and he that strengthens him with his hands keeps the commandments. Lend to your neighbor in the time of his need, and in turn repay your neighbor promptly. Confirm your word and keep faith with him, and on every occasion you will find what you need. Many persons regard a loan as a windfall and cause trouble to those who help them. A man will kiss another's hand until he gets a loan, and will lower his voice in speaking of his neighbor's money. But at the time of repayment he will delay, and will pay in words of unconcern, and will find fault with the time. If the lender exert pressure, he will hardly get back half, and will regard that as a windfall. If he does not, the borrower has robbed him of his money, and he has needlessly made him his enemy. He will repay him with curses and reproaches, and instead of glory will repay him with dishonor. Because of such wickedness, therefore, many have refused to lend. They have been afraid of being defrauded needlessly. Nevertheless, be patient with a man in humble circumstances, and do not make him wait for your alms. Help a poor man for the commandment's sake, and because of his need, do not send him away empty. Lose your silver for the sake of a brother or a friend, and do not let it rust under a stone and be lost. Lay up your treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it will profit you more than gold. Store up almsgiving in your treasury, and it will rescue you from all affliction. More than a mighty shield and more than a heavy spear, it will fight on your behalf against your enemy. Let's go to Exodus 22:28 says, you shall not revile or curse the Elohim, nor curse the ruler of your people. And lots of different interpretations of that. I think that goes right along with Sirach 21:27. Says, when the ungodly curses Satan, he curses his own soul. I don't think we're called to curse Satan, y'all. I think that's Yahweh's job. Michael the archangel shows us this in Jude. It says, yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not or did not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, Yahweh rebuke you. I think a lot of people speak some very swelling and proud words against the accuser who, he's going to get his. Why are you poking at the bear? I guess I don't know if that's the right way I want to say that, but there is other Elohim. They're false Elohim. The Satan, the fallen ones, the ones that want to be worshipped by men, the ones they've given power to, the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the elites. That's their Elohim. These fallen angels, these false ones. But it says you shall not revile or curse the Elohim. So it's not our job to be like, hey, blah blah blah. I'm gonna talk all these things against you. Like, chill out and let Yah handle it, I guess is what the scriptures is how I understand it at this time. Exodus 22:29, you shall not delay to offer the first ripe of your fruits and of your liquors, firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. And it's the redemption here. This is a question that some people have asked me over the years, and it's a question that I've been looking at. We looked at Exodus 13, talking about setting apart your firstborn, talking about, which is defined here in Numbers 18:16. And those that are to be redeemed from a month old shall you redeem according to your estimation for the money of 5 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. So some people have speculated, hey, if you want to follow this out, I don't know how we do it, but in the spirit of it, some people have just given some money to a ministry or to a someone in need. And so, that's something that I plan on doing with baby Yoshiyahu, baby Josiah, who's 2 months old now. Praise, And I think that's the kind of attitude we should have. I could be totally wrong. Y'all could totally be like, hey, there's no way you can do this right now, so just don't. But I think the spirit of it is, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how to do this, but I want to. I want to because you said do it, and I love you, and you're my father, and I want to respect you, and I want to honor you. I think that's just the kind of mentality we should have towards the Torah in general, towards the commandments, instead of like, well, if you break one, you break them all, so might as well not try, which I feel is what modern-day Christianity kind of underhandingly kind of teaches there, but... Okay, let's go to Exodus 23, and let's hear in from Word Audio. Shemot, Exodus, chapter 23.
You shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to pervert judgment. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the ass of him that hates you lying under his burden, and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in his cause. Keep far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. Also, you shall not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Mizraim. And 6 years you shall sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still, that the poor of your people may eat what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner you shall deal with your vineyard and with your olive yard. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your ass may rest, and the sons of your handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be guarded, and make no mention of the name of other Elohim, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. You shall guard the feast of matzah, unleavened bread. You shall eat matzah 7 days as I command you, in the time appointed of the month of Eve. For in it you came out from Mizraim, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of Katsir, harvest, the firstfruits of your labors, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of Asif, in gathering, which is in the end of the year, when you have gathered your labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before Adonai Yahuwah. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with hametz, leavened bread. Neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first of the firstfruits of your land you shall bring into the house of Yahuwah Elohika. You shall not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. Behold, I send an angel before you, to guard you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. And if you shall indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto your enemies, and an adversary unto your adversaries. For my angel shall go before you, and bring you in unto the Emorym, and the Hittim, and the Perizim, and the Kenainim, and the Hivim, and the Yevusim, and I will cut them off. You shall not bow down to their Elohim, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them, and quite break down their images. And ye shall serve Yahuwah Elohaikum, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. There shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in your land, and the number of your days I will fulfill. I will send my fear before you, and will destroy all the people to whom you shall come, and I will make all your enemies turn their backs unto you. And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivi, and the Kinaini, and the Hittite from before you. And I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against you. By little and little I will drive them out before you, until you be increased, and inherit the land. And I will set your bonds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Pelishtim, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land unto your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall cut no covenant with them, nor with their Elohim. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their Elohim, it will surely be a snare unto you.
All right. Praise the Most High. Let's go back to Exodus 23, verse 1, which says, You shall not raise a false report, put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. And I just want to remind us that this doesn't have to be in a court of law. This doesn't have to be in an official place. But when we speak and we declare something, we're giving a witness, a testimony of what we believe, what we've heard, what we saw. Especially those of you keyboard warriors out there and you typing like blah, blah, blah. It's a witness. Careful. Deuteronomy 19:16 through 19 says, If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both of the men between whom the controversy is stand before Yahweh, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days, and the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And behold, if the witness be a false witness, and has testified falsely against his brother, then ye shall do unto him as he thought to have done unto his brother. So shall you put the evil away from among you. This is a right ruling. And so, as I mentioned earlier, Yahweh performs right ruling on us as the judge of all. So we may want to be very careful with our words and what we're saying about other people, because we don't want to be found as false witnesses, correct? And just another thing, there's multiple scenarios where it talks about having both parties before the judge and hearing both sides clearly. Otherwise, we're not dealing in right ruling. We're not dealing in righteousness here. Let's go to Exodus 23:2. It says, You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to pervert the judgment. Basically, don't follow the crowd is what it's saying. And what we've seen in history is the crowd is usually wrong. And could that also happen in the body of Messiah, where the group of a majority of people could have something wrong and you just join in hand with them to speak evil about somebody when not really knowing what's going on? I think this has happened in the assembly and continues to. Verse 3 of Exodus 23 says, Neither shall you show partiality to a poor man in his cause, which is excellent. I love this because it's showing you how impartial Yah is. So it's saying that, like, I think it's alluding to even a matter of dispute of money. Like, let's say you have, I mention this every year, so if you've heard this before, forgive me, but if you had a billionaire versus someone who probably can't even afford anything, like you can get a soda. Why would you get a soda anyways? Get a water. The point being is, if you're settling a matter of dispute and you're like, I have compassion on this poor man, and this rich man, he doesn't need this $500. I just want to rule in favor for the poor guy so he can just get the $500 and go eat. That may come from a good place in your heart, but according to Yah's right rulings, that is totally wrong. Get that mentality out. When it comes to deciding a matter between two people, two parties, everything goes out the window as far as you can't judge partially based off of their economic status, their social status, anything. What they can do for you, any gifts they give you, none of that. It's got to be completely out the door. And then verses 4 through 5, talking about your enemy's ox. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him. If you see the donkey of him that hates you lying under his burden and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help him. And so these are some of the precepts from the Torah that I think was completely forgotten by the Yahudim, the Jews. And this is why Messiah is teaching the greatest thing is loving Yah and loving people, which if you look at these right rulings, if you actually loved people, none of these things are hard. Like if you have a humble, meek heart, even if someone does you wrong financially, you can just forgive them and say, hey, no problem. I know it was an accident. No big deal. I love you. Let's move on. Boom. That shows you love people. But if you're like, oh, I'm offended and blah, 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 and I take you to court. And anyways, obviously there's a time and place for that. I'm just saying in general, the kind of people that Messiah was training us to be. But caring for your enemy, I just want to show a couple of places. Proverbs 25:21 through 22 says, if your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and Yahweh will reward you. Matthew 5:43 through 45, you have heard that it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may prove yourselves to be the sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. Another story I want to just share with you real quick. It's not too long. 2 Kings 6:15 through 23. This is Elisha. It says, now when the attendant of the man of Elohim had risen early and gone out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was circling the city. They're in Dothan. And his servant said to him, this is hopeless, my master. What are we to do? And he says, do not be afraid, for those who are with us are greater than those who are with them. Then Elisha prayed and said, Yahweh, please open his eyes so that he may see. And Yahweh opened the servant's eyes, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed to Yahweh and said, please strike this people with blindness. So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the word of Elisha. Then Elisha said to them, this is not the way, nor is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. And he brought them to Samaria. And when they had come to Samaria, Elisha said, Yahweh, open the eyes of these men so that they may see. So Yahweh opened their eyes, and I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. All right, it's raw, unedited here, brethren. They saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. Then the king of Israel, when he saw them, said to Elisha, my father, shall I kill them? Shall I kill them? But he answered, you shall not kill them. Would you kill those whom you have taken captive with your sword and your bow? Set bread and water before them, so that they may eat and drink and go to their master. So he provided a large feast for them. And when they had eaten and were drunk, he sent them away. When they had eaten and drunk, not that they were drunk, sorry. He sent them away, and they went to their master, and the marauding bands of our Arameans did not come again into the land of Israel. Praise Yah. Take care of your enemy. Love them. Pray for them. When they hurt you and they do everything wrong against you, I'll tell you what, brothers and sisters, it is so freeing to just get on your knees and just pray for them. Lift them up to Yah. And it takes all hatred out of your mind. It takes all anger. It takes all these things. It washes it away. And you just give it to Yah. Yah, would you please bless these people? Please help them. Please open their eyes to what they're doing. Please, whatever it may be. It's very freeing. Give it a shot. And then it says, you shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in his cause. So earlier it says you can't judge favorably for the poor because he's poor, but then it also says you can't judge negatively against him because he's poor. So it goes both ways. Let's take a look at verse 8. It says, and you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. We saw a little snippet of that in with Isaac, how Isaac loved Esau's food, and it seemed to have clouded his judgment a little bit between his love for Esau and his love for Jacob. Not judging him. But yeah, specifically, this is talking about bribery, though. This is not talking about what happened with Isaac. I don't think Esau bribed Isaac, and he's like, yeah, I'll love you more, son. I think Esau just loved the gifts that his son gave him, and I think he inclined to Esau because of that. Sirach 20, verse 9 says, presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise. Like a muzzle on the mouth, they avert reproofs. So it's almost like what it's saying is like, let's say you're put in a position of trust or authority or leadership or whatever, and someone gives you gifts, and you would normally correct them or reprove them or say something, but you're not because you're like, ooh, they gave me a bunch of money, so I better stop. That's what happened to Israel. They became covetous people. They became for hire, judges for hire, and so on and so forth. Let's go to verse 9. You shall not oppress the stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. We are still strangers today, my brethren, if you didn't recognize that. Leviticus 19:34 says, but the stranger that dwells with you shall be unto you as one born among you. So there shouldn't even be like that. So even if an Edomite came into their camp and was like, whoa, I want to serve the Most High, teach me. He's not to be looked at as an Edomite anymore. And you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Hebrews 8:11, 8 through 10. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing where he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promises. For he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is Elohim. And we should be just like Abraham in that we are sojourners waiting for New Jerusalem. But in the New Jerusalem, that place, yeah. All right, Exodus 23:12 says, 6 days you shall do your work, and on the seventh day you shall rest, that your ox and your ass may rest, and that the son of your handmaid, the stranger, may be refreshed. I don't know why I had the wrong notes here for it. But yeah, we already talked about letting the land rest, working 6 years, or working your land for 6 years, letting it rest the seventh. I've got some families here in the area that actually walk this out, and they see Yah's hand in it. So total blessing. If any of you are farmers, have large parcels, and are afraid to take that seventh year off, don't even know where to start, I have a phone number to a family that does that here, and they'd love to share their testimony on what that looks like. Exodus 23:13. No, where is it? Yeah, it says here, and in all things that I have said unto you, be guarded, and make no mention of the name of other Elohim, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. So what a lot of people in Torah have interpreted this to say is, you can't say the word Monday anymore because it's related to a pagan god, or you can't say Thursday anymore because it's Thor's day. Did I just break Torah by saying Thor? I'm going to say no, and I'm going to tell you why. And that's what most people teach, I think, is that you can't you can't say the word Belial or Baal. That's actually not true, because the scriptures itself would actually be breaking that, because it's repeating these names of these other Elohim. Here's what I think. I'll give you the quick take. Earlier it said don't curse the other Elohim. Now I think this is the opposite. Just like we saw with the poor, don't be favored to a poor man in a financial case, and don't also go against a poor man just because he's poor in a financial case. Don't curse the Elohim. Don't love on these Elohim. Not that their name can be mentioned, because I think we all know that Messiah is the sinless one. And, he said the word Beelzebub, which is a false Elohim. And he says, and if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore, they should be your judges. So if the proper interpretation was you can't even speak these other false god names, the Messiah would have said, hey, and if I by the name of this Elohim that I can't mention cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? He didn't say that. He actually said the name. So that can't be the interpretation of this, because Messiah would no longer be the spotless lamb that didn't break any commandments, which is what I believe. I believe he didn't break any commandments. What do you believe? So if that's the case, that can't be the proper interpretation. Acts 7:43, Stephen would have been guilty of the same thing. Yeah, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your Elohim Remphan, figures which you made to worship them, and I'll carry you away beyond Babylon. 1 Samuel 2:12, now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. The Samuel will then also be in transgression of this, because he said Belial, which is a false Elohim, Bel Iyal. It's talking about Baal here. So my point is I don't believe that's what it's talking about. Then when you look at the actual Hebrew here, it says, and make no mention of the name of the other Elohims. This is actually the word zakar, which zakar means to remember. We're called to zakar Yahweh, to remember him, and in turn he zakars us. I'll give you some examples here. An Elohim zakared Noah. It didn't say an Elohim spoke Noah's name. And it says, and I will zakar, remember my covenant. So what he's talking about here, don't remember the name of Elohim's. Right? He calls us to remember him, to remember his Sabbath, to not serve any other Elohim. And so my point is, I don't think saying the word Baal is transgressing of make no mention. So it's don't zakar, don't remember the name of the other Elohim. And we know that name doesn't necessarily just mean name. Name can be, we know that Yah's Torah is part of his name. It's the commandments, it's the statutes, it's what represents him. So I believe earlier it said don't curse the other Elohim, and then now I think it's basically saying don't serve them. So stay out of it. He's like, I got this. Even Michael, who is in much greater position than we are right now, is didn't even rebuke him. It just said, Yahweh will rebuke you. Right? All right. It says, 3 times shall you keep a feast unto me in the year. There's a video I would love to share with you all. And this is talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's talking about Shavuot and Sukkot. And I believe that for those of you that like prophecy, I believe this has a lot to do with the end days and the 3 end times harvests. You've got the barley, you've got the wheat, and you've got the grape. And I think this settles a lot of the debates about pre-trib, post-trib, all these different things. I think it might prove a blessing to you. So the link for that will be in the study notes there. So let's see. Oh yeah, and in verse 19 here it says, you shall not seethe a kid in another's mother's milk. A couple things, this practice would be super cruel. Some people have said that this type of meat is most palatable boiled in milk. So Yahweh is saying specifically don't seethe it in his mother's milk. That would be kind of super weird. There does exist some pagan rituals that do this, found in African tribes and Arab customs. However, I think it's actually saying something completely different here. So it says, Exodus 22:30, likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam, and on the 8th day you shall give it to me. And with his dam means basically breastfeeding, feeding. Leviticus 22:27, when a bullock or a sheep or a goat is brought forth, then it shall be 7 days under the dam. That means we'll call it breastfeeding. And from the 8th day and thenceforth it shall be accepted for an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. So could this possibly be talking about not seeing a kid who hasn't been pulled from her mother's breast at that time? Possibly this would be kind of a third witness to these 2 witnesses here. So I don't think it's talking about a cheeseburger, my brothers and sisters, like the Jews say. And then lastly on chapter 23, and then we're going to finish up in chapter 24, it says, talking about this angel which is sent before you to guard you. It says, beware of him, obey his voice, provoke him not, for my name is in him, but you shall indeed obey his voice. He will be an adversary to your adversaries. My angel shall go before you. Speaking of another video that might bless you, it's called The Angel of Yahweh, the identity. I'm going to put a link there for you as well. So hopefully that's a blessing for you about the identity of the angel of Yahweh. So with that being said, let's go to Exodus 24. I've just got a few things on there. I've got some announcements, and then we'll finish up. So here, let's go to chapter 24. Shemot, Exodus, chapter 24. And he said unto Moshe,
Come up unto Eliyahu, you and Aaron, Nadav and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yasharel, and worship ye afar off. And Moshe alone shall come near Eliyahu, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him.
And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahweh and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh said, we will do. And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahweh, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Yashrael. And he sent young men of the children of Yashrael, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahweh. And Moshe took half of the blood, and put it in the basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the sefer of the covenant, and read it in the audience of the people. And they said, all that Yahweh has said, we will do, and be obedient. And Moshe took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant, which Yahweh has cut with you, concerning all these words. Then went up Moshe, and Aharon, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yashrael. And they saw the Elohai of Yashrael, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in its clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Yashrael he laid not his hand. Also they saw Elohim, and did eat and drink. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give you sapphire stones, and a Torah, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them.
And Moshe rose up, and his minister Yahusha, and Moshe went up into the mount of Elohim. And he said unto the elders, Tarry ye here for us, until we come again unto you. And behold, Aharon and Horai are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moshe went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount. And the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moshe out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Yahweh was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Yashrael. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud, and got him up into the mount. And Moshe was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. All right, praise Yah. Let's talk about chapter 34, and we'll finish up here. So first of all, in verse 7 here, it says, he took the sefer of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh said, we will do and be obedient. It almost sounds like the marriages we understand today. We're like, I do. They're like, we do. This is, by the way, this is part of the marriage, the marriage covenant. We'll see more of it, I think, in Exodus 32 through or 33 and 34. But this is the marriage covenant. You've got, and what we see here is vows. We see witnesses, meal, and blood. So let's talk about verse 8 here. It says, and Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has cut with you concerning all these words. Let's take a look at Matthew and Hebrews. Matthew 26 through 28. This is the Last Supper, and as they were eating, Yahusha took the bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remissions of sins. Let's go now to Hebrews 9, 18 through 28. Whereupon neither the first covenant was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the testament which Elohim has enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Messiah is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim for us. Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place every year with blood of others. For then he must often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, has he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men to die once, but after this the judgment. So Messiah was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. Verse 10 here of Exodus 24 says, and they saw the Elohai of Yashrael. Basically, in English, they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. What a sight to see. Who did they see? Did they see the Father, or did they see the Son? Let's test what we know in the scripture. In the New Testament, it says, John 1:18, no man has seen Elohim at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him, which we're going to see in Exodus 34 here in a few weeks. I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, I do believe that that no one has seen the Father at any time. And I believe that they saw Messiah, who is the God of Israel. And that's why he was enjoined to them. And that's why he had to come and literally die so he can marry him again. Not that so he can die and marry his dad's wife. No way. So, and it says here, and the glory of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai. And the sight of the glory of Yahweh was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Yasharel. The last few chapters, or last few portions, wanted to put forward a case that Messiah is that pillar of fire. Well, I just basically want to say I do still believe he is that pillar of fire here. And, I could share quite a few more verses here, but I want to talk about the glory. Who or what is the glory of Yahweh? Because it says, the glory of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai. The scriptures define who or what the glory of Yahweh is. Hebrews 1:2-3 has in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the Majesty on high. So Messiah is the brightness of his glory and the express image of the Father's person. John 11:40 says, Yahusha said to her, said I not unto you that if you would believe that you should see the glory of Elohim? Messiah is the glory of Elohim. John 1:14, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory as the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Messiah is the glory of Yahweh. Luke 9:32, but Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were awake, they saw his glory, and the two men that stood with him. This is when they're Mount of the Transfiguration. Messiah turned into the glory, which is what I believe they're seeing here. And the glory of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai. And the glory of Yahweh was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Yashrael. That's kind of interesting. Something just popped up in my mind. This may not prove fruitful, I'm not sure, but this is, like I said, it's raw here, folks. We don't slice and dice this video. Here we go. Oh, this is kind of cool, because earlier here it says, and they saw the Elohai of Yashrael, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. So they saw him. So basically, he was glowing like blue and fire. What's kind of interesting here in the books of the Nazarene, it says here, the following day, Yahusha took Kepha, Jacob, and Yochanan, three of the apostles, to a cave high up in the mountainside, where they remained in meditation for 3 days. On the third day, while seated in the cave, the others saw the whole body of Yahusha exude a light and became radiant, the colors being blue and white. Nice. They were astonished at such an inflow of power, for no other body could have contained it. Wow. That's amazing. It's kind of cool. Okay, going back to Messiah as the glory. John 12:41-42. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees did they not confess him. So basically, they saw his glory. Luke 21:27, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. 2 Corinthians 4:4-6, in whom the Elohim of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine unto them. For we preach not ourselves, but Messiah Yahusha, the Master, and ourselves your servant for Yahusha's sake. For Elohim, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, has shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of Elohim in the face of Yahusha HaMashiach. There's actually quite a bit more. I'm not trying to say be boastful and proud of how much evidence, but there's actually a lot more evidence. Wanted to kind of keep that kind of short. Thanks, YP. Anyways, with that being said, let's a couple announcements, and then we'll pray, and then we'll jump off here. Sukkot is coming up pretty soon. We're going to start camping October 18th, I believe, is a check-in day. The link for the Eventbrite sign-up will be in the description box of this. Also, it's on the front page of parablethevineyard.com. There is a cost to it. There's a cost to coming. However, anyone that is not able to afford it can come for free. So don't let money be a hindrance as to why you're not able to come and feast with us. And to praise the Most High with us. So it's going to be in Lebanon, Missouri. We're camping out for 11 days. It's on a beautiful private campground with everything we need there. Yeah, we'd love to Sukkot with you. So come and join us if you can. What else? It's Shabbat, so don't look at it now, but after Shabbat's over, my wife has revamped her store with different shirts, and we have different shirts available that weren't previously available. I know I had some other announcements. Can't remember what it is. Maybe next week we'll have some more announcements. So with that being said, much love to you, brothers and sisters. Much love in the name of Yahusha. Let's pray. Father Yahweh, we just thank you for our study time together. Father, we pray that you'd help us to put these things into practice, to be the type of people that you want us to be lights out there shining brightly for you, and not hindering the truth, not being an aversion to it, not being a stumbling block, but actually one that would help and bring people into your fold. We love you so much, and we thank you for giving us the testimony of Yahusha HaMashiach and for helping us to keep the commandments. In your name, O Yahweh Sabaoth, we pray, and in your son Yahusha's name. Amen. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm going to play a song, and we will jump out of here. Let's go with, we're going to play an oldie but goodie called Seek His Face.
Blessed are you, Yahweh Sabaoth. You gave us of your Son so we could have hope. Taught us how to walk in spirit and in truth. He is the vine, through him we bear fruit. Your word's a lamp unto our feet, our heart's desire with every single beat. Your Torah inside us, commandments we know. Till that great shofar we wait until it's blown.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and God of the shout will sing you praises to our King, and clap your hands, all his people, and sing with joy to our Elohim.
We're at the end, and surely we know the world is filled with lies, vanities, and woes. The people that seek him turning to his way, leaving Babylon, Yahusha, don't delay. Hearken, O his people, his doctrine drops his rain, keeping the commandments lest you walk in vain. His Torah is no burden, no matter what you're told, sweeter than honey and worth more than gold.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and go with the shout, praises, praises to our King. And clap your hands, all his people, and sing with joy to our Elohim.
Standing on Mount Zion, singing that new song, Yahusha and his chosen, to him we belong. Worthy is the Lamb, for he was slain, made us kings and priests, by him we shall reign. Open ye the gates for those that keep the truth. You give us lasting peace, our minds are stayed on you. Striving to shine bright like your menorah, walking in the way, the truth, your Torah.
I'll never go back.
Never go back.
I'll never leave you.
Never leave you.
I'll never go back.
Never go back
To my old way.
to my old way.
I'll seek your face.
Seek your
For
face
all of my days.
for all of my days.
You gave me peace
You've given me peace
by teaching your way.
teaching your ways. Your ways.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and go the shout. We'll sing you praises, praises to our King, and clap your hands, all his people, and sing with joy to our Elohim.